I'll be right back. Flexibility to do that. Whew. I wonder how many Ohio State fans and Michigan fans I can get up here. What's up, everybody? Don't mind me. I'm just sitting here trying to take a scoop of my little pre-workout. I'm going to work out as soon as I'm done here. At the 2-minute mark, I'll get started. K-Dog, what's up, man? Hey, in a minute, I'm going to start talking just so I can wait for some fans to arrive. I'm hoping to attract some fans. Me too, man. That would be great. They've already got a 10-win season. I'm shocked about that, given how Sark has made some questionable coaching calls last year with Oklahoma State and TCU and even Washington. But, hey, it is what it is. That's awesome, man. Hey, man, please stick on. I don't have many people that go to my live right now because I don't go live often as I need to. So hopefully I get more people. Hey, man, tell some people about me, by the way. This is going to be fun. Yeah, me too. That's Texas Tech, so I don't know. That's going to be a fun prediction to do. Texas Tech they're not a great team, but they ain't no pushover either. They took Oregon to the limit. Remember that? And in a lot of ways, Oregon has played better than Texas this year. In a lot of ways. Oregon really shot themselves in the foot. Well, not really them. The coach shot themselves in the foot. He hurt that team going for it twice on 4th and goal instead of taking the points and then go for it on 4th down, giving Penix a short field to work with. Now I can start talking. Hey, guys, what's up, y'all? And listen, just because it says Michigan, Ohio State, we can talk about any rivalry y'all want to talk about. I'm down with it. I'm actually uploading my current Michigan, Ohio State prediction video right now as we speak. That's a tough one, you know. Probably Oklahoma State and Texas. I think those will be the teams to do it. And if Texas gets past Texas Tech, they could lose that game because in the last 5-6 years or so, Oklahoma State has kind of owned Texas. They've beaten them out of the last 4 or 6 times, I think. 2017, they beat Texas. 2018, they beat Texas, and Texas was top 10 when they beat them. 2019 and 2020, Texas won, so they were 2-2 at that point. But the last 2 seasons, Oklahoma State has beat them. And Oklahoma State hasn't been consistent this year, but when they have played great, because they got good players, and they got a good running back too. Excuse me, I got the hiccups going on now. But they can beat Texas. So we'll see. But again, for those who just walked in, it's just pre-workout, man. Nothing serious. That's why my tongue and teeth are blue. Yeah. What do you think it'll be, though? Better yet, Kansas State. It could be them. It could be. They're having a pretty good year, too. Aren't they 8-3 or something like that? They just beat Kansas, so that's a good big win for them. Who's the second guy? Who do I got here? Oh, it won't let me see. Hey, what's up, man? Just joined. Who's your team? Hey, fun fact, I got a team that I like for each conference. Now, next year, I will have to change that because Oregon's my Pac-12 team. They're going to the Big Ten. I'm going to stick with Michigan, whether or not Harbaugh's actually here next year. I love how they play, despite the cheating going on. I don't know who I'm going to pick for the Big 12 because Texas is going to the Big 12. Oh, you don't believe me? Check this out, man. Check this out. Here's my Oregon jersey. And my Texas jerseys that I wear in my videos. I have an Auburn jersey, but it's dirty. And I'm a little embarrassed about Auburn right now, losing to New Mexico State, who turns out New Mexico State is 8-3 this year. Did y'all know that? That's crazy. So I'm not too surprised. Auburn's not a great team this year. They're not very good, but that's besides the point. They're gonna get destroyed by Alabama probably. But yeah. Ah. Any predictions that y'all have or any thoughts that y'all have? Colorado? I might. I very well might pick them to be honest, but I don't know. Um I like I like Utah. I got a lot of respect for them. They're a pretty good football team. Cam Rising's supposed to be back next year. Not because he's supposed to be back, but I like how they play football with, and I love what Kyle Whittingham does for Utah. They're well coached. They're a disciplined team. They're not the most talented, but they can play with anybody if they have a complete team. Like right now, their offense isn't very good because they don't have a good quarterback. But it is what it is. They're still really good. They're fortunate to have a winning season. Speaking of, I think they'll beat the brakes off of Colorado this weekend, but that's besides the point. They still finished with 9 wins. All the teams that beat them were really good, ranked teams. Oregon State, Washington, Oregon, and Arizona this past week. But hey, any thoughts on the Michigan Ohio State game? Any trash talk y'all want to have, or anything crazy, or even a prediction? Who do you think should be favored? How do you think this game's going to go? Is it going to be close? Is it going to be one-sided? Or what do y'all think about that game? Now, I'm not giving a prediction right now because I'm uploading that right now at the same time. Oh, that's cool, man. How about the SEC championship? Who do y'all think is going to win that one? Now that I have given a prediction out on publicly, so I'm willing to talk about that one a little bit more. How many of y'all got Georgia? Because I don't. I got Bama. That defense is nasty, nasty. I've seen that defense do some good stuff. Held LSU to under 30 points and only a touchdown in the second half. So that's really good. Imagine what they could do to Georgia's offense, which is also good, but not LSU's, because LSU's got the best offense in the country. I think they put up 50 points a game or something like that. Oh no, not the Gators, man. Oh, Clemson. Penn State. Hey, excuse me. Wrong team, man. I'm kidding, man. I don't care. That's cool. Clemson, man. They have been so disappointing this year. To be honest, if they were not so turnover prone, I think they would be in the top 10 right now. They wouldn't have lost to teams like Miami, NC State. Probably would have beat Florida State. They would have beat Florida State if they didn't turn the ball over so much or missed the kicks like they did with FSU, tossing in the game like that. They would have beat Duke if they weren't turnover prone. So they'd be undefeated right now. But hey, that's Dabo's fault. Is what it is, man. Ah, you know what I ought to do? I ought to start doing what Uncle Lou does and some of these other YouTubers. I should film my reaction during the games to get more viewers, to get interact with more people, and get more trash talkers to put them in their place. Because it's fun to do that. Whew. I'm just sitting here bored, man. But yeah, I don't think Texas gets to the playoff. I don't trust them to win 2 more games. Because that running back's out. Quinn Ewers has been good, but inconsistent in a lot of his games. He throws picks still. Texas' defense is not consistent, especially against the pass. That worries me. But they are a good team this year. I will give Texas that. And I do think Sark is the guy that should stay for Texas. And I think they'll do okay in the SEC next year. I really do. How do you feel about Florida missing a bowl game this year? K Dog. Ooh. It's crazy. Florida State's only favored by 6.5. I think they'll beat them by at least 14. At least. Man, I can't get no reaction out of you, man. You're just like me. I don't react much to trash talkers. I got people that come to my channel more and more lately. They troll me. And every time I reply, I'm like, thanks for watching. I'm polite. They're like, what? This ain't no fun. Sometimes. I had some genius go to my Louisville, Florida State updated prediction video, which I'm still picking Florida State. And this guy tried to, you know what he tried to tell me? He tried to tell me, man, y'all ain't beating us without Jordan Travis. Man, I must have made him mad. He didn't respond. I said, what you talking about? We beat y'all without Jordan Travis last year in your house. And Florida State wasn't even a top 10 team last year. Like Jordan, remember last year in Louisville, Jordan Travis got hurt in that game. Not just him. Jared Verse also got hurt. And somebody else got hurt on FSU's team. I think an offensive lineman, right? And this is when Louisville had a more dangerous quarterback in Malik Cunningham. And they were down 14-24 at one point. And the quarterback that stepped in to help us come back to beat them was Tate Rodemaker. He's the quarterback now. So my point is, we beat y'all. And y'all's defense was great last year like it is now. I personally think y'all's defense last year is better than what it is this year because Miami kind of exposed it with a backup quarterback who hasn't been playing good this year. And Tyler Van Dyke, he lit y'all up. Miami's running backs lit y'all up. So, I mean, hey, but we're going to beat Florida State. That's what Brian Kelly said too. Wait, what? What are you going to do, Auburn? I'm going to keep pulling for Auburn next year. I mean, I've always liked Auburn. They have a really nice stadium. That's another team I would like to go see play at their house. I'd love to go to an Auburn game one day if I could. I like their fight song. Just the blue, the Auburn blue. The shade of blue that they have. I like their orange. I hear it gets really loud, so I'd like to go to their games. And I've always liked Cam Newton's playmaking ability. That's kind of how I started watching Auburn. I remember when Auburn was down 24-0, whatever the score was, and it wasn't even in Auburn. It was at Alabama, the year they won the national championship, and Cam Newton led them to a huge comeback. So I've always been a big lover of Auburn football. The only time I pulled against them was when they played Florida State in the national championship 10 years ago. But other than that, I always had a lot of respect for Auburn. And they're a tough fit. Here's the thing. Even with Gus Malzahn, Auburn was never elite. They were always pretty good. They were respectable. They'd give anybody a tough fight. And they're a physical team. They like to win the line of scrimmage. And here's the thing. Next year for Auburn, I think they'll be a lot better. Hugh Freeze is going through some learning pains right now with his team. And, of course, when Auburn's bad back-to-back years with losing seasons, heck, last year they didn't even make a bowl game. Of course, nobody's going to want to go play for Auburn. It doesn't matter who you are. But clearly they're better than last year, just not a whole lot. But again, Hugh Freeze has had more success with Auburn. He's gotten them going to a bowl game. They'll probably win the bowl game against whoever they play. They'll finish 7-6 because I don't see them beating Alabama, even if it's at home. I think they'll be better. And Hugh Freeze is going to be able to go back to the transfer portal because really, the transfer portal has meant more than recruiting lately. For example, if you look at Florida State, most of their impact players today came from the transfer portal, not his recruiting. Now, his recruiting is going to look great now. I think they have the number 4 recruiting class or a number 5, whatever it was. It'll help now, especially with all those starters leaving this year. But in order for Florida State to become where they are now, it was the transfer portal. Jermaine Johnson, Jaheim Bell, Jordan Travis came from the transfer portal. Trey Benson, those receivers, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, all transfer portal guys. Jared Verse, transfer portal. Tatum Bethune, the linebacker, transfer portal. I mean, all these guys. Cypress from Virginia, transfer portal, So, Greedy Vance, Louisville, transfer portal. So, I think Auburn will be a lot better next year. Now, look, all jokes aside, I don't make fun of Billy Napier too much on my channel. And the thing is, when he first got there, Florida did not have elite talent there. They didn't, and they still don't. It's only his second year. Mullen openly admitted he didn't like recruiting. Mullen was great his first 3 years, really his first 2 years. He had back-to-back double-digit winning seasons. In 18, they won the Peach Bowl. 19, they won the Orange Bowl. And they finished in the top 10 both of those years, yes, but those were Jim McElwain's players. And once they left, and in 2020, they went 8-4. They lost their last three. They lost to LSU, Alabama in the SEC title game, and then they lost to Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl that year. And then once he lost all those guys, he didn't really recruit very well. So of course Florida struggled more. But Napier, I don't expect a big jump really until his fourth year. Because again, Billy Napier's not really famous. He doesn't have that Lincoln Riley effect to where he can get any player he wants to play for him because he doesn't have that reputation. Because Lincoln Riley has already established himself at Oklahoma by winning the Big 12 repeatedly, whipping his rivals like Texas, Oklahoma State, making it to the playoffs so many times. And even though he never won a national championship, he was still a winner. And he did it with Oklahoma, and he had Heisman Trophy quarterbacks. Speaking of, he had one with USC, Caleb Williams just now again. So, I mean, with Napier, it's going to be harder for him to do it. And again, Florida's in the SEC, and the SEC is competitive. I don't know about the Mountain West. I don't really keep up with them very much. But with Florida, I'm not trying to defend Napier or anything. I agree. It should be better than what it is, but it's going to take time. I mean, he's going to have to get better players. Not to down nothing on Pearsall or even Trell Johnson or even Trevor Etienne, but you need more than that. And Florida's offensive line is young this year. They lost 4 guys last year. So even as a Seminole fan, of course Florida's going to struggle. And to be honest, Florida's probably going to keep most of that recruiting class that they have coming in this year. They'll probably still have a top 10 recruiting class. It still won't help much next year unless he goes to the transfer portal and gets several key players. I mean, obviously you got freshmen that can always make a big impact, but I still don't think it's going to be enough to make Florida great this year. That's just my opinion. Because Florida's going to, like Norvell, for example, he went and hit the transfer portal in year 2 and had a lot of good players go there. They still went 5-7 in 2021. So I'm not saying whether or not I think Napier's the right guy. I just think it's too soon to tell whether or not he's the wrong guy for Florida. And again, he didn't really have much to work with when he got there. And now he's starting to get those players. The recruiting class will help, especially at the skill position. Defense needs to be fixed, obviously. I think he should get a new defensive coordinator. That defense is BAD. I know you played the number 1 offense in LSU, but you shouldn't be giving up that much. I mean, come on, man. So I think he should get that 3rd year. That's just my opinion, I don't think he's a bad coach. He needs more players. Now, once you have the best players or a lot more better players, then you can go out and compete with the Georgias, Alabamas, Florida States right now. Next year, they got Miami, who I think is going to be a lot better. So then you can compete. But right now, of course, you're probably going to struggle. And he did beat Tennessee, so that did save his job, a ranked Tennessee team. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, the 3rd year, I will say if he can't get to at least 7 or 8 wins next year, then he should be fired because he's going to have a whole nother offseason to go to the transfer portal to get key players. That offensive line is coming back from this year. He's going to have those same running backs. Mertz will probably stick around. I'll give him credit with Graham Mertz now. Graham Mertz was terrible at Wisconsin. He comes to Florida, and he's great. So, hey, that's awesome. And if he don't have some kind of a good defense next year, then he does need to be fired. And he better be ready because that's a brutal schedule next year. You still got Tennessee, Georgia, Florida State. You got Miami right off the bat. You got Texas coming to the SEC. Woo-hoo-hoo. That's brutal. So they basically throwing Florida to the woods there. But it's not like he's Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M who's able to bring in big players because Jimbo had an advantage going to Texas A&M. That's what makes him getting fired funny because he's already recruited at an elite level at Florida State, won him a national title, won his conference several times. He was dominating his rivals, Florida and Miami. I think he only lost to both those teams at a grand total of 2 times in 7 years, 7 or 8 years, whatever it was. No, it's 8 years. 2010 is his first year. Last year was 17, so it was about 8 years. He was 7-1 against Miami, and I think he was the same thing against the Gators. But with Fisher, not trying to compare the two, but Napier doesn't have that background, that resume. Jimbo Fisher is able to do that because of his background, and he has connections to Nick Saban and other great coaches. So I know I'm kind of going on and on about Florida, but I'm just being honest. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I should pick a team from the Mountain West. I just don't talk about them. It's a shame that I don't, man. I feel bad now. I haven't talked about them. But I like Notre Dame too. They're independent. That's my favorite independent team. I like the Irish. I'll be right back, y'all. I'm not going anywhere. I've got something I need to do. Fresno State, I don't really know much about them, but hey, is Appalachian State in the same conference as them? As if they are, that might be my team I should start pulling for just because. No? Okay. Dang it. Darn. Dang it, man. Had my hopes high. Hey, any games you want to talk about, though, that I haven't talked about, or maybe prediction videos I've already posted? Sunbelt. Okay. Sunbelt, Billy. Mm. Any games you want to talk about? Anybody in particular? Rivalries, maybe future conference championship games, future playoff teams. Who do you think should be in there? Who should not be there? BYU at Oklahoma State. Okay. Who you got in that one? It's interesting. BYU's not a terrible team. And Oklahoma State's been inconsistent. Who you got? Because it's at Oklahoma State, I'll go with Oklahoma State. It's their last regular season game. They want to go to the Big 12 championship, and I'm sure they want to beat Texas 3 years in a row. That sounds about right. Might be a little closer than that because Oklahoma State has BYU's been a pretty good addition to the Big 12. I think they'll be better next year. They're winning some games. Um, Maybe a little closer than that though, but we'll see. Because the thing about Oklahoma State is they don't have the elite players that most teams have, but they're still a good football team. Mike Gundy's a really good coach. He's a winner over there. That might be my new Big 12 team next year. Might be Oklahoma State. It might be them, because now Texas is gone. I might need to start pulling for Oklahoma State because technically, as a Texas fan, you don't like Oklahoma. And who's the next team that doesn't like Oklahoma? Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy. So I'm a big Mike Gundy fan. He's funny. I remember when I did a rant video of him mocking him about doing the 40. Like, come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. Oh, hilarious, but he was right. But yeah, probably Oklahoma State. You got any other game you want to talk about? Any game at all? Man, I need a haircut. Look at all this hair I got here. I remember when I cut my hair back in March, and I did it on right here live. That was funny. I had so much hair. I had about 5 pounds of hair, kind of like I do now, but right now it looks a little better. It just needs to be trimmed up some. I don't even brush my hair with a pick. I use it with a regular hairbrush. This year, I don't think Lincoln Riley is going anywhere. To be honest, I really don't see that happening. I think he's going to stick around, and I think he'll stick it out one more year. Um, he's a winner. Anybody that likes to win has a big ego. I just don't see him leaving this year. I think Harbaugh is more likely to leave because of what's going on at Michigan right now, and he would rather leave. And because he knows he doesn't have anybody. Here's the thing: Corum, probably McCarthy too. That whole offensive line probably most of that defense will be gone after this year for Michigan. I think there are a lot of older players. I think Harbaugh, and because of he has that thing that's kind of messing up his reputation right now with the cheating going on that he's in charge of, I think Harbaugh would leave more likely than Lincoln Riley. Um, so that's just my opinion. Oh, I forget. I'm gonna make a. As I saw Paul Feinbaum, did you see that? He said that he called Lincoln Riley a fraud as a coach. Do you agree with that? Because I don't agree with that personally, and I'm gonna make a little video about that defending him as a Texas fan, so that'll get viewers. Texas. He used to whip Texas. It's for the like. Who do you think is the next coach at Texas A&M? Who do you think is going to be? That's a good question. Hmm, that's a tough one. For Caleb Williams, probably the Bears. I mean, Justin Fields hasn't really worked out for the Bears. Now, last year he did have a bunch of highlights. I don't know what it is. I mean, Justin Fields has really surprised me. I don't know if it's the play calling that's hurt him. I don't know. I mean, if it's the team around him. I know they have they've had a hard time protecting him over the years, offensive line wise. I mean, I haven't watched much of the NFL this year. I just know that he's been hurt. He's thrown a lot of picks this year. So I don't know what's going on with him, but I mean, even if you get Caleb Williams, you got to have an offensive line that'll protect him. I guess so. That's where he would probably go. Drake May. I'd say add him to the Patriots. He's a really good quarterback. He's got a really good arm. He's very accurate with the football. He's actually an athlete that can run too. He's fine with taking hits. He's a tough guy. I'd say the Patriots should get someone like Drake May. That's my opinion on that. Who else is a big name quarterback that can go? It's with Spencer. Do you think Spencer Rattler would leave right now? I don't think he would. But if he did, I'm pretty sure somebody would pick him up. He's a really good quarterback too. He's played really good this year, actually. He's what's kept South Carolina in some games. Like with Georgia, he played pretty good. He played good in the North Carolina game to start the year. He's played really good football. Bo Nix. Oh, I forgot. Oh, let's talk about Michael Penix too. Bo Nix. What is that? Where do I think Bo Nix would go? I think it's possible Tampa Bay could get him because Baker Mayfield hasn't really worked out too well for Tampa. And I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. I'm ashamed to watch them nowadays. They're not doing too good. But I would love to have him. Penix, I don't know where he would go because over the years he had all the injuries at Indiana, and he's played really good this year. But I don't know who would get Penix. That's a good question though. Michael Penix, he's out of his mind how he plays. But Penix, thanks for joining, guys. Where do you think Penix would go? That'd be a tough one. JJ McCarthy, he's really good. I don't know where he would go, to be honest with you. I guess the Jets. I would say they should get another quarterback. I know Zach Wilson hasn't really worked out for him, and there's no guarantee Aaron Rodgers is going to actually come back next year and play really good, let alone come back, because he did get hurt pretty bad in that first game. J.J. McCarthy would be a pretty good addition over there, or even Bo Nix himself. Either guy would be a good addition over there. Who else? Jordan Travis. He's going to come back, not to play obviously this year, because this is his last year at Florida State. He'd be a good addition anywhere, to be honest. Green Bay? Who, McCarthy or Jordan Travis? McCarthy, he might fit at Green Bay. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, it's tough for me. The only reason I cover the NFL on my channel is around the time where it's the NFL draft. Just Bo Nix. Yeah, I think he'd be a great fit over there. I think Dallas should get another quarterback. Jim Harbaugh said Michigan is America's team. Dallas is America's team. So America's quarterback could go to America's team. That'd be funny. Yeah, I don't know about that. Hey, I got 2 likes now. Thanks, yo. I don't know. Plus, college football has more drama, and it's just for me, especially right now. NFL doesn't really have a rivalry week, does? I know college football does. Like this week, this is probably the most fun. It's also the most sad week of the season for college football because really this week is when most teams' seasons end because some of them aren't bowl eligible. You won't see them until they actually go to a bowl game because of the conference championships. That's a good question. I'm not sure. You know, the thing is, would Michigan want to replace Jim Harbaugh? Because I know he has the cheating thing going on, but if he decides to stay, would Michigan still pay him more just to stay? Because if he leaves, who would? That's a good question. I don't know who would replace him, but I'm pretty sure somebody would be happy to replace him if he leaves or gets fired. I think he needs to be fired, to be honest, because of what's going on. I mean, because I'd rather Michigan be what they were before all the cheating happened. I'd be okay with them winning 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 games every now and then if that's what it is, because that's what it is. It's fair. But if you have to cheat and get an advantage over everybody, I don't want that. I don't want that. I mean, why? That's just me. I don't know. I don't know how other Michigan fans think or feel about it. I'm pretty disgusted with how other fans have tried to defend it and think it's okay and just to basically make it look like Michigan's a victim. They ain't no victim. The players are probably the biggest victims of all because all the success they've had, now that it's come out, it doesn't really mean anything. Because all their wins are probably going to get taken away. But, yeah, because the players probably get hurt the most because they're the ones having to go out and play and risk their lives. Because football, you do risk your life. They risk their draft stock, let alone their life, because if they get hurt or whatnot. But, I mean, some NFL teams might even with J.J. McCarthy, there's some NFL teams that might say, well, you had an advantage over everybody. Are you really as good as you say you are? Blake Corum, are you as good as you say you are? Now, I think they're good players still, but there are some NFL GMs that might think that way. So, that's not good for the players. Again, that's why I say the players get hurt the most with this stuff going on. And does Harbaugh care? No. He's getting paid regardless. And he can pretty much get up and leave when he wants to. He's got ties to the NFL, so I don't think he really cares. I mean, heck, he missed out on last year's signing day just to get an interview with the Vikings or whoever it was. So he doesn't care. So, I think Mike Elko would be a good replacement for Michigan or Harbaugh to coach Michigan because Michigan kind of plays like them. They run the football a lot. They're real tough along the lines of scrimmage. So he'd be familiar with working with teams like that. That's what he's turned Duke into. So I think he'd be a perfect fit. I mean, smash mouth defenses. I think he'd fit pretty well over there, And Michigan's a good team, but they're not elite. They've never really been elite because of the recruiting that goes on. Oh, that's why Ohio State has beaten Michigan more often lately because of the elite talent that they have. But I do think he'd thrive over there. He'd be a great addition over there. That's just my opinion, but I guess that'd be a perfect replacement for him, Mike Elko, because he still hasn't been coaching very long, but he does have history in the coaching business. He's been pretty A&M. If not Mike Elko, that's a tough one. I just don't see Mike. Here's the thing, Mike Norvell. A lot of people have thought that Norvell would go. I don't think he's gonna go just because of the approach he's taking with FSU. Because it looked like he's there for the long term. He's been okay with taking steps here and there to get to where Florida State is now. And even with all these players leaving, do you see the players he's been recruiting at Florida State and the transfer portal? What he's done, he's gonna have another elite team next year. So I don't think he would go. Personally, I don't think Dan Lanning's going to go either because Oregon's got so much talent now that they're a playoff caliber team this year, obviously. Even if they don't make the playoffs, worst case, they go to a New Year's Six, they finish with 11 wins because I think they're going to beat Oregon State. That's worst case. Best case, they beat Washington in a rematch and then make it to the playoff and could win it all. Maybe that UTSA coach they talked about him could go, but I don't know. That's a really tough decision right there for me. You know, of course, college football, anything can happen. So Norvell did get up and go over there. I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, it's college football, anything can happen. But I mean, for winning purposes, I doubt Norvell would go because it's a lot less difficult to win the ACC than it is the SEC. Because you got Bama in front of you, got LSU, you got Georgia. You know, and A&M's talented and true. I think Norvell's a great coach. I think he could handle it if he had to, but it's riskier for him. And I'm sure he likes winning like he is now. I don't think Dabo's going to go to Texas A&M because you see how Jimbo got fired. He wasn't winning enough. And Dabo, for what he's talking about, with that fan that he talked with and had that argument, that rant with, he talked about rather accepting the appreciation than it would be about winning. Not to say he doesn't want to win. Of course he wants to win, but he appreciates the game. He's not going to make it over there at Texas A&M because he's got a similar problem that Jimbo had. His offensive philosophy. Now Jimbo actually recruited. Dabo Swinney is not okay with the NIL. He has openly not been okay with players getting paid and doesn't care about the transfer portal. Jimbo, on the other hand, was okay with players getting paid. How do you think he got that recruiting class? I know he's offended by that, but come on, man. His only defense was, hey, have you ever been to a game out here? His atmosphere? Man, cut the bull, man. You paid them players. You know you did. But no, I don't think that was going to A&M because, yeah, he does have elite players over there, but is he going to keep getting those players? So I don't think so. If Dabo were to leave Clemson, he would full on retire. I doubt he'll get fired because I think he's earned to keep that job as long as he wants. He's had so much success there. But if he were to leave, he'd probably coach at a lower level program, at probably a less competitive conference or something, and just enjoy what he's doing over there. Because I don't see him going to an A&M or an LSU or Alabama where you're expected to. The transfer portal is a must. Recruiting and paying your players is a must, and winning at an elite level consistently is a must. Because right now he can get away with that at Clemson more likely. So I don't think Dabo will go to A&M. No. That's just my opinion because then if he goes to A&M, I'll tell you what, A&M got the players right now, but they won't have those players within the next few years. If he goes right now, they won't be getting those same players within the next 2 or 3 years. It'll hurt his roster. Think about it. Clemson has a really good defense, but his offense has not been the same. He hasn't had the same receivers and quarterback play. So that's clearly what the big problem is with Clemson. That's why they're 7-4 and they're not 11-0 or the worst 10-1. That's why. That's why they lost to Florida State at home. That's why they've lost to Miami teams, NC State teams. Who else did they lose to? Duke on the road and get beat like they do because they don't get the same talent. So, no, I don't think so. Hey, I'm going to wrap this up in the next 2 minutes because I really want to go lift some weights. I need to. I'm really proud. I mean, my face is a lot thinner. My belly's a lot smaller than what it was. I started working out 2 years ago. I just don't run like I need to. My face will be a lot slimmer. But I've lost about 40, 50 pounds almost in the last 2 years because of that. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm going to keep doing that. I don't even go to a gym. I got weights in my house that I lift and messing around with. I do push-ups all the time. Yeah. A&M, that's a really tough one. That's a tough one to predict there who I think they're going to hire because I don't know. I guess they get Norvell, but I just don't see that happening. Now, if Florida State was having a down year this year, coming off great years, and A&M offered him a lot of money, he would probably leave like Jimbo did. But, nah. How about Notre Dame and LSU possibly meeting up in a bowl game? Who do you think will win that one? Because Notre Dame's not an elite team. LSU has an elite offense, but their defense is BAD. And unlike them, and Notre Dame's got a defense. I think they'd have a field day with LSU's defense, so that'd be a tough one. All right, I'm about to wrap this up, y'all. I'll see y'all later. Peace.